Shalom. First and foremost, I want to give all praises, honor, and glory to Yahweh, Bahasham Yahushai, Bahasham, Rachak Kodash. Double honors to the elders and the apostles of Great Millstone, and peace and blessings to the elect. And in this lesson, wanted to go into something I was thinking about. I was just watching one of the videos that was done by the elder Manat Zachba on, I think it was a response about, there was a fake, individual that was like cosplayed as Donald Trump. And he came across one of the Israelite camps. And, I guess he was doing like a skit kind of thing, but, it's kind of funny. Anyway, one thing that the elder mentioned in the video was how, in a case like this is something that could easily be something that attracts like attention, right? Or eyes, and more specifically, a scenario where somebody, whoever it is, as this video goes out, ends up showing it to Trump, right? And they're like, hey, look, there's a guy who was like cosplayed or dressed as you, and he encountered the Hebrew Israelites, and this is what he said, and yada, yada, yada. And eventually Trump will address the Israelites. And this is me speaking as a man, but with if you look at how the course of his term has been going and all the things that have already transpired, especially the kind of posts that he puts on his social media platform, was a truth social or something like that. Interesting that they call it that. It's not out of the question, for him to post something about the Israelites on his platform. Okay, whether it's in disagreements, which more than likely will go in that direction, as leading to that time of persecution. But there was a video, right, that came out already. You have in New York with Mayor Eric Adams already pushing that, trying to put into law, basically is it IRA or IR something, as they call it, working definition of anti-Sem. And basically that's going to be subjective, right? Because they're going to be the ones determining what is considered to be anti-S, or what is considered to violate that working definition. And should you violate that, then, that's there's going to be consequences for that, basically. So though they try to frame it as not taking away your free speech, they're trying to, tiptoe their way around that, but still put something like this in place. And as we're starting to see the Lord highlighting everything that's going on in the world, especially centered around the small hats, you're having more and more of a protectionist laws and legislations around that. Now, what's interesting as well is in Germany, I was reading this article, in Germany, they're doing house raids over people who are posting things on social media against or about politicians or government agents or so on and so forth. And I'm not even talking about like somebody leaking the address of a government agent or anything. We're talking about you disagreeing with them, you mentioning anything that is considered by them hate or not in agreeance or compliance with what they're saying. Then they come to your house and they pay you a visit. They confiscate your phones, laptops, iPads, search through them to see if there's anything they can find that they can deem as a violation. All right. And so that's basically what's going on over there. If I read correctly, I think it was in Germany. But we are seeing similar things now at these various airports. They're also going through people's phones and taking them and searching through them to see if they can find even the slightest sentiment of anti whoever's in the administrative office. And then at that point, they'll either send your ass back or just not let you even come into the country. So these are the important things to notice, which is the tactics that are being used, irregardless of what setting they're being used in. It's the fact that they are being used, right? And so with the second video that he played in his lesson was Trump basically, there was a part in there where this was the real Trump, and he was telling the small hats that if he doesn't get If he doesn't get basically elected into office, they're in trouble. And so far, as you've seen, he's been basically um, protecting, right, and being on that side, which, I mean, we already knew what the deal was there. But lo and behold, whether it's something controversial that comes out again, or as time goes on, they just shift closer and closer to that. Eventually, they're going to try and center that notion of too much anti-Sem going on around, and um, eventually they will address that. Whether they address Israelites directly, or they, which this would probably be a more likely scenario where they try to paint with a broad brush and lump, a lot of groups in where they list, right, Israelites. You already have agents that are laying the groundwork for that. And I don't mean just like agents that are agent tours that have infiltrated different camps. But what I mean is like groups like the Southern Poverty Law Center, people like vocab, and Hebrew Israelite defects, if you want to call them. They're all agents in Esau's toolbox, okay, that he is going to use. Now, I have a precept here, but I also wanted to mention, I think this was last year, but sometime before, I don't recall if it was I think it was after Trump got elected, like after he won the election. I had a dream, and in the dream, I think I did a lesson on it, but basically in the dream, they had this museum, right? They unveiled this museum, and they were basically like everybody was hailing Trump, and in the museum there was a statue, that was a big statue of Trump himself, and it was covered up. And I remember I was in the museum, and at first it was just like a regular museum, and I saw him come over there, and he was looking for where the statue was. So they were pointing him to it, like, oh yeah, it's over there, and then they showed it to him, and he, him, how he sounds and stuff. And then all of a sudden, at some point, I forget exactly how or when the shift happened, but it turned that museum turned into something else. Like it almost became like a facility or a lab or something of that degree. And now they all just started coming after me. Like I don't know what it was. I don't remember the details because it's been a while now, but I just remember I had to book it out of there, right? Because I feel like it was like they were trying to sort of lead me, like, oh wait, why don't you come on over here? And in my mind, I'm like, it's a museum. Everybody's over here. Why are you focusing on me? And then basically Trump himself is like, that's when he turned, right? He's like, yo, he sent the freaking military SWAT team, everybody, So I remember booking it out of the museum. And then at that point, I had spiritual power. So I was able to like jump really high, fly out of there, that kind of thing, and then escape. But then I remember in the dream, basically everywhere I went, they had surveillance. They were looking for me. And then getting to the end of the dream, they had just like mad troops and agents all around, and we basically, who I think it was myself and whoever else was around me, had to basically defend ourselves against them. But I definitely remember that in the dream, and when I woke up, it was that feeling of, he started off as, light, to where they even built a statue for him in a museum, and it was just like, oh, this guy is just awesome, and he's making the country great again. And then, just like that, on a dime, he just like flipped, right? And at this point now, it's just like a straight, it's almost like dictator vibes. Anyway, this is the book of John, chapter 16, verse 1. And it reads, "These things have I spoken unto you, that ye should not be offended. They shall put you, out of the synagogues. Yea, the time cometh, that whosoever killeth you will think that he doeth God service. And these things will they do unto you, because they have not known the Father nor me." Now, the conditions that led to this happening, right, in which Yahushua was saying this, those same conditions have been recreated now in this time, right? Which is why for the same very reason why they persecuted the disciples, the believers, the apostles, they're basically going to do the same thing now, because the same way they look at, if you want to get a sense of what happened, the same way they look at Israelites today, as they don't look at the Israelites today as, like most of the people, at least I should say, as truly ordained by the Most High. There are only some believers that do, But most other people are just like, oh, these guys are just like, a nuisance, basically. They're just going around with the Bible saying this, that, and the third. Why do you think they wanted to come? They wanted to persecute Yahushua. Yes, you had a major role from the scribes and Pharisees because they actually knew and they feared Yahushua. But you had also a good portion of people that were just blinded, right? And that they just persecuted the Lord, they persecuted the church. And in their minds, they actually thought, like one example was Paul, before his name got changed to Paul when he was Saul. In his mind, he actually thought that he was doing God's service by killing the believers, right? And in this time, you're going to have a lot of people where they're going to be deceived, right? It's going to be, their minds are going to be turned, and so to where they believe a lie and think that you are actually doing a good thing. If you see these people right here, call this number or turn them in. Or if you have a family member that's like this, turn them in, because it's, these people are dangerous. They're potential this, they're potential that, so on and so forth. But that's all needful, because that sets up the next phase, okay, where the Lord has to, intervene. And then you have your second Ezra 16, right? The insurrection upon those that fear the Lord, and so on and so forth. So there's a lot more that's coming, that this guy, that the Lord is going to use this guy to do. Speaking of which, according to Trump, he says we have a stupid person at the Federal Reserve, and I presume he's referring to Jerome Powell. Right, so you can already see that there's a shift in this political correct, tiptoeing that people used to do a lot, and now it's more so just blatant and direct. And what starts off verbal, something, when you verbalize something, you're basically making it known what you're thinking within, or how you're feeling within, right? So when they start verbalizing or speaking in this manner, that shows you how they actually feel, right? What intent they have. And it's only a matter of time before those words become actions or laws or legislations. And now they're going on, right, discussing this big beautiful bill, which right now it feels like back during, not that I remember that because I wasn't even born then, but back during the 1912, 1913, around there, when they try to push the Federal Reserve, the new Federal Reserve Act system and whatnot, and they called it I think it was originally called the Aldrich Bill, if I remember correctly, but then they had to change the name to make it sound more government-like. This big, beautiful bill sounds just like something like that. And when you look into it, I think it's about 1,000 pages or so, but you best believe it's going to contain a lot of information, because alongside this, they're pushing banks having the ability to use blockchain technology freely, and basically this whole like delving into the crypto side of things. And then you also have this they're pushing legislations for quick advancements of locations, power systems, facilities that will support or be the foundation for building better and stronger AI companies, right, and AI models, and so on and so forth. So there are all these pieces that are being put together, right, that'll all come into play very soon, right, and when it's put together, you'll see just how beast-like, okay, this system really becomes. But anyway, I just wanted to do a slight response to that. As I was watching that video, this is what came to mind. So we'll see, right? The Lord did say that we should watch as well as pray. So we'll see, how things end up playing out. But we know ultimately, if we remain faithful in fearing and serving the Lord and keeping his word, he's going to keep us and take care of us in that time. So with that, Lord willing, this was edifying to the elect. In closing, I want to give all praises, honor, and glory to Yahweh, Bahasham, Yahushai, Bahasham, Rakha Kudash. And until next time, Shalom.